Hello, this is DJ Podcast, Chicago Bears fan podcast. My name is David James, and here I am recording my first episode I'm doing this year. I'm going to be working harder on making it a weekly show that I'm going to post on all the popular podcasting websites. For the most part, it is a Chicago Bears fan podcast. However, there will be many times and plenty of times where I'll discuss trending topics around the NFL, or maybe particular games if they were exciting or fun, or of course pertain to the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to say, just like many of you guys, you feel like this year has been kind of a roller coaster of a year, depending on how well Justin Fields is throwing the ball. I even feel like, just kind of recapping how I feel about the season with Justin Fields, even preseason football, I felt like he was throwing the ball. He had some good yardage for the preseason games. So I felt like when we went into week 1 versus the Green Bay Packers, that we were going to see a much different Justin Fields. Something more like we've seen in the last 2 days, or 2 games, versus the Broncos and versus the Broncos and versus the Commanders. And the Commanders being the first team that they've beat for almost an entire year. That is quite an impressive losing streak. It's one of those things that you never want to see your favorite team to go through. Like some people compared it to the Lions, the 0-16 Lions, where they went into the following year and went 0-19 between 2 years. I always try to defend my Bears, though, and say, hey, last year they weren't trying to win. They sold off a lot of parts. They sold off their entire core of the defense. They sold off Leonard Floyd. I feel like when they didn't re-sign him, who was a great talent, that was kind of a sign that they weren't trying to win any games last year. But even still, going back to my point, that even in the preseason we were seeing some good football, some good running, and then they went into Green Bay. Or they played Green Bay, and they just looked god awful. And then I was just kind of like, well, maybe that's like week 1 jitters for like Justin Fields. He's not gonna come out immediately and look great. But I want to see something good. And then they lost to the Bucs. Now the Bucs, admittedly not the worst team, not the best team, but a team that I kind of thought that they could at least make look competitive. And we weren't seeing competitive from the Chicago Bears for the first 3 weeks of the season. There was multiple times during the first 3 weeks of the season I'm saying to myself out loud, like, come on guys, let's line up, let's go, let's get on it. You got like 45 seconds. Aren't we supposed to be lining up really, really fast and like making a play? Then finally versus the Broncos and the Commanders, this team looks like the team that I thought they would look like from the beginning. And now there's like a citywide, meaning Chicago, citywide debate on whether Justin Fields is good or bad. If we keep seeing this, 200 passing yards out of Justin Fields, I think that we need to find to sign him. We need to sign him to a bigger contract, or at least take on his 5th-year option. I mean, as long as those first few weeks was just kind of like nervous jitters, or just taking a little while to get started, because this is kind of like Justin Fields' first year as of being he's the starter for certain. They built around him. He's got his new coach now, so it's kind of like he should be able to really turn it on and say, no more excuses. I'm gonna go out there and just dominate, and I just want to see him attempt that each game, and throw it to the open receiver. We saw what happens when we put it in DJ Moore's hands, and he connects with him. 3 touchdowns, and that's what we want to see. And then some people are saying, well, Fields has so many passing yards because DJ Moore has so many yards after completions. That's all right. That's fine. Let's use the weapons that we traded for. Let's give Justin Fields some confidence, because that's what everybody is saying. Everyone's saying that he lacks confidence. So yeah, let's have some yards after completion. It's exactly what Justin Fields needed, was a dynamic wide receiver like DJ Moore. So there we go. We're backing him up. We got you a terrific wide receiver. And when we've passed him the ball, when Justin Fields passes him the ball, you can see what happens. I'm nervous for Justin Herbert. He was really coming on strong, and then all of a sudden he's bending over backwards with an inaccurate pass by Justin Fields. So that scares you a little bit. But then he throws a dime to DJ Moore down the corner. He's at least connecting with his best wide receiver. He needs to learn how to connect with the other wide receivers. Darnell Mooney, we haven't seen much of him. They finally got rid of Claypool. You hear nothing but disaster out of Chase Claypool, and here we are now, finally starting to look like a football team. We're supposed to have a defensive-minded head coach. Okay, well, finally, holding a team to 20 points. They were giving up 30, 35 points a game, and we're supposed to have a defensive-minded head coach. So is this the coaching? Is that the issue? Is this Justin Fields? After seeing Justin Fields the last couple of games, I think it's the coaching. I think that a lot of coaches, especially, I'm not saying Eberflus is all that old. I mean, he's 53, which in general is kind of on the younger side. But somebody who's talking to someone, Justin Fields is 24 years old. So sometimes I feel like every now and then, some of these coaches do have trouble getting across. And I'm not saying an age gap here is like the absolute number one problem. It's something that can easily be worked around, which is proper communication and listening skills. And I feel like maybe the message is just taking a little bit longer to get to Justin Fields on exactly how the coach wants to play. But I'm hoping that he's kind of shaking off those rookie nerves and showing us that this is going to be the new Justin Fields. This is going to be what we see week in and week out. And I feel like that if the next games, if the rest of the season Justin Fields shows this type of flow, and limits his turnovers. That's one thing that makes me nervous about Justin Fields. I think he has the arm talent, and we've seen his mobility. One thing that really concerns me is the turnovers, the fumbles. I feel like he has a high fumble rate. This could be because he's running around a lot, but I feel like he fumbles more when he's about to throw or in a quarterback stance and not a running back stance. Like, once he decides to run, I think he has pretty good ball control, but I feel like he fumbles a lot from quarterback. Like, when he right before he gets hit, he's still in a quarterback mode instead of like, I'm gonna run it mode. And once he starts running, I think he gains control of the ball. But anyway, so like I was saying, so the Bears have, I would say more so a coaching problem, because I need to see 2 or 3 weeks of the Bears defense holding teams to, let's say, under 30. Okay, under 30. We can't have these over 30 defensive points games. And then if the Bears offense can put together 2, 3 touchdowns, at least 2 touchdowns a game, and a couple of field goals are gonna be in there. The Bears need to hit that 30 offense as well. We gotta be, how about this, 25. Now, obviously, if your offense is only scoring 25 and your defense is giving up 30, I'm not saying every game. I'm saying that's the minimums and that's the maximums, right? We need to see some under 30, like we saw last week with the Commanders, 20 points. That was fantastic. Maybe the Vikings, let's keep them 27. You know what I mean? And we gotta put 30 on them. You know what I'm saying? It's gotta be. I think the Vikings were gonna have to hold them to 25, and the Bears need to hit 28, 29 here. They have to get close or more than 30 points versus the Vikings to win, I think. The Vikings played the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs don't look as good as they used to. But the Vikings, I think they feel like they should have won that game. I think that's how I feel like the Vikings are feeling right now. Like they held the Chiefs to 27 points. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, I was expecting more. I really was. I was expecting more than that. So, what we have to remember about this game is that the Vikings, I think, are going to come in pretty scrappy. I think the Bears can beat them. However, I would definitely consider taking the Vikings if they get plus points. Let me look at the line for a second. The Bears are surprisingly +3 at home. Now, a spread of 3 is kind of what I was thinking. It's gonna be a tight game. They're thinking the total of the game being 43, which the experts are saying is going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be a very scrappy, kind of. I wouldn't be surprised if a fight broke out type of game. 2 1-5 teams. Is it 1-5 or 1-4? It's 1-4. 2 1-4 teams. I think about it, the difference between in the NFL, because the season is so short. Difference between 2-4 and 1-5, gigantic. Like teams don't come back from 1-5. 2-4, you might run off and hit a wild card. It's doable. Green Bay is 2-3. Detroit's 4-1. This is the week that let's just say Green Bay loses. That would put both the Bears and Green Bay at 2-4. Detroit, Look, they look good. They look really good. But are they going to win every game this season? The rest of them, they have to lose a couple. I mean, they could run the table, to speak like Aaron Rodgers. if you know, you know. Basically, I doubt it. I bet you we're bound to see a flash of the old Lions, 2 or 3 games. I think that the current Lions team, though, I think they'll be able to get some wins in here as well. Maybe the Vikings beat them. Maybe the Cowboys beat them. And I can see the Chargers beating them. That's kind of their losses in there. The Saints game will be close, but I think Lions handle that. And Broncos, Lions got them. It's then it's down to the Bears and the Packers, right? So this game, I think, will show us if the Bears are. It will be a measure stick game. It'll be 3 games in a row. It could be if it goes the Bears. If the Bears win, and only if the Bears win, we'll know this. Unless if it's a close at the wire loss, which we'll find out. But if Justin Fields has a good game, and let's say throws 3 touchdowns, no interception, win this game, this will be a game that will tilt the table to, hey, maybe we can get a wild card. I want to be hopeful. I as a Chicago sports fan, as a Bears fan, for a long time I was a Cubs fan. I did watch the World Series game. I had to, but baseball is not as interesting to me as it used to be. It's kind of long, drawn out, boring. I can't handle 162 games or whatever it is. It's one of the reasons why I love the NFL is the short season. But anyway, after the Vikings, the Bears have the Las Vegas Raiders. I personally don't think the Raiders are as good as others think they are. I think it's a winnable game. And if the Bears are continue this trend, I think they can beat them. The Chargers, that's going to be a tough game. That's in LA. Then the Saints, I think the Saints are beatable. The Panthers are beatable. The Lions, very scrappy game. The Vikings again might be tough. The Browns beatable. Cardinals beatable. Vikings beatable. The Packers, honestly, I hope they beat the Packers to end the season. If there's one thing they can do for me is beat the Packers to end the season. That would be the perfect momentum builder into next season. If the rest of the games go good. As a Bears fan, though, I have to say brace yourself because you could see the complete opposite happen. This is Chicago. This is the Chicago Bears. I've been watching them 20 years since Brian Urlacher's rookie season, 1999. That's how long I've been watching the Bears. I've seen the good quarterbacks like Jay Cutler. I've seen Rex Grossman make it to the Super Bowl and lose versus Peyton Manning and the Colts. It's Devin Hester. I was watching that. Is he a Hall of Famer? Not as long as the way that the Hall of Fame is voted on in the NFL. It's very unlikely because there will always be wide receivers, other offensive players that get the Hall of Fame vote ahead of Devin Hester because Devin Hester is a special teams player. Like, I've seen it. I've watched it. Bernard Berrians, Matt Forte, Jay Cutler, another great quarterback that we wondered Is he going to throw a touchdown or an interception every single time he threw the ball? We were scared of it. I've seen Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers tear us up. And now Jordan Love did that to us on the first game of the season, and he's not even that good. Frustrating to be a Bears fan. Be realistic. But that's why I'm so hopeful for Justin Fields. And I think that Ryan Poles have some tricks up his sleeves to jump and get to go out and get Caleb Williams. At least that's what everyone's clamoring for. The people who want Justin Fields to not be on the team any longer are hoping that we can go and draft Caleb Williams to fix our quarterback problems. But I'm one of the people who says I feel like Justin Fields has elite talent. I want to see the rest of the season. I want to see them show me for once and for all, is Justin Fields gonna be good? That's what I want to see. I'm going to remain hopeful for this season and hope that it continues. And if it doesn't, kind of whine about it. I'm not going to cry about it. I've been doing it for 20 years now. 20 plus years now. So I just sit back, relax, and I wear my blue and orange and say bear down through the winter months. Because honestly, how else am I going to get through the winter? It's cold, it's snowy. I hate the winter. I'm a summer guy. I like cookouts and barbecues and fun parties like that. I'm one of the people who wants to see a dome just because I'm not about Chicago weather. I'm not about the cold, the rough, and the tough. Find 53 or 54 players that want to play in the freezing cold. How about 22? Just the starters. It's, to me, bear weather just puts your team at a huge disadvantage because it makes it harder to practice. It makes it harder for your team to play football when you do play on it. Don't act like, they're practicing every single week playing on wet, slippery, snowy grass. Most of the time, they can't really duplicate enough to practice it to make it really even that big of a difference. So no, I'm not a fan of being in a frozen state without a dome. I think it's ridiculous, and I'm hoping they make a beautiful dome in the suburbs of the Arlington suburbs. Because in case you don't know, the Bears have officially purchased the Arlington Park race old. It used to be the old racetrack, and it was a fun place to go. But the Bears bought it, and there's still debate whether or not the new stadium will be built. But what else are they going to do there? The mayors of Chicago have switched, and they're trying to work a deal to stay in the city of Chicago. But I personally am a fan of a move because it would I think allow the Chicago Bears to do more with the stadium and put a better product on the field. I was originally against the Chicago Cubs putting up the giant jumbotron, but it bought them a World Series, right? So even though I love to respect tradition, especially with Wrigley Field, because Wrigley Field is the second oldest ballpark in America. The advertisement does need to stop right where it's at right now. I don't want to see any more than it is. And don't tell me you can't advertise enough all over that Jumbotron. And it is like, hey, let's continue to build a good sports team. I'm very disappointed in the Chicago Cubs and how they completely dropped from the World Series. And like I said, it's too hard. It's too hard to watch an entire baseball season anyhow. So I just wait for the playoffs if the Cubs are in it, and that's the only time I watch. But NFL, boy, I've been paying attention solid 20 years, watching Terrell Owens, Ray Rice, and all that drama, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Watching that has been exciting to me, and watching the sport grow and stuff like that. So it's just something fun that kind of takes you away from a moment. And then I do get mad. I get mad at the way it doesn't look like it did in the 90s. It used to be a rougher game. I am one of the people who kind of preferred a little bit of a rougher game. Some of it is ridiculous, and I know there's player safety and stuff like that. But it has really become, in so many ways, a little bit too much of a off sport. But either way, it's still fun. Watch it, because the talent, no matter what, you are watching some of the most talented people week in and week out do something that is just fantastic to watch. So much talent, and that's what keeps me interested. Like I said, it's something to do. It's wintertime. It's cold. I've always lived in cold states, even though I don't like the cold. I like the change of the seasons, but I don't like the change of the cold. So anyway, so that's just some background on me, especially since I'm putting up the podcast first time in a long time, and some people just might need a little bit of a refresher of who I am, and let's bear down. Let's hope that the Bears. I want to see a good season. I want to see a comeback season. I want to know whether or not Justin Fields is the guy going into next year. I want out of this season. And then let's turn this DJ Moore trade into some fantastic picks. Let's see something happen. I don't want to see any more Velus Jones Jr. picks. I don't want to see those type of duds. Let's start putting together a team. I want to see my Bears turn it around and get something to watch through the cold months. All right, guys, bear down. I'm gonna try and keep this podcast going, but thanks for listening. My name is David James, DJ Podcast. Bear down.